All right, welcome aboard. We are currently about halfway across America. We're coming up on Omaha right now, and I was just visiting family on the East Coast, and now this is my return flight back to Colorado. It's kind of a boring flight to show you because it's really just the autopilot on and cruising, but this is something that the Mooney does really well. So I at least wanted to take a couple of minutes and talk to you about a couple of things. So one thing I'll tell you about flying in the summer here, and sort of how I approach any cross-country, really, anything over about an hour flight. So there tends to be a layer at which I sort of call it the ground scatter stops. So you'll have a layer of humidity that you can visibly see in the summertime. And then somewhere around, 6,000, 7,000 in the morning, and then more like 12,000 in the afternoon, you'll run into this layer where it's almost like you're just ascending out of the fog. You can see forever, and that's sort of where the clouds stop bubbling up. So they mostly tend to settle in that range where, and again, it'll vary with temperature, pressure, and all those things. But you'll find if you climb high enough, you sort of top the majority of the weather. What we're left with are these, cumulonimbus clouds that begin to tower, and those will go up to 40,000 feet and above in the summer. But what I find, with the exception of big, large frontal zones, you can usually file an altitude that's above that scatter and then just pick your way through the towers as they pop up in the afternoon. So that's how I like to fly my cross countries. I would recommend, anytime you're carrying passengers on any duration, it's much more enjoyable for everyone if you pop up above that, that layer of humidity, because that's also where the turbulence starts. So you've got the convective activity heating the ground, raising that water vapor, and then it begins to stabilize at that layer. And when it does, everything above that's pretty smooth. So the autopilot does a great job when it's not getting rocked around up at these altitudes here. So the majority of my flying is just this, listening to the radios, jumping from approach to center to a different center to a different approach, and hopping your way across the U.S. With the 64-gallon tanks I have on board here, I can do this very easily with one stop. So typically somewhere in the Illinois, Iowa area, I'll pick whatever is cheap fuel, drop down there, and then continue on from there. So it makes for, today we're looking at about 2 4.5-hour legs.
November 23323, squawk 2465, Des Moines altimeter.
Which really isn't that bad. I've got a cooler with lunch and snacks and all kinds of things. And with the autopilot, I can just sort of kick back and sort of relax on a flight like this. It's not nearly as stressful as driving 9 hours. With the oxygen too, I'm sitting right about 12,000. I didn't have the hose on for the first leg, but I'm at 12 right now, and I may have to pop up to 14. So it keeps me a little bit more refreshed on a long flight like this as well. So I've got plenty of oxygen in the tank, and I figured for the next 3 hours or so,
November 7 Charlie Mike,
I'd be on the nose hose.
Contact Omaha approach 124.5.
So again, I'm not going to record this entire flight. I just wanted to turn this on for a second to show you how capable the Mooney is for long cross countries, and sort of my approach to how I fly above the majority of the weather, even though we're on an instrument flight plan. It's no fun. I mean, sure, I could be at 6,000 feet and plow right through all of these, but we're going to get bumped around. It's cooler, it's smoother, and once you get up to altitude, your fuel burn's a lot lower up here. So, we're truing out our ground speeds 143 knots over the ground on about 8 gallons an hour. So, about 3 hours, 19 minutes en route to Longmont from just between Des Moines and Omaha here. So,
November 6-4 uniform, contact Omaha approach 124.5.
24.5 for 6-4 uniform. Omaha approach, Mooney, November 7-1, 6-4 uniform, 12,000.
Mooney 7-1-6-4 uniform, Omaha approach, the Omaha altimeter is 3004.
3004, 6-4 uniform.
And approach 4X-ray.
So that's about all we have to do is,
4X-ray, X-ray, roger.
as we hop from center to approach to center, they'll give us a new a baro setting. We set it and keep going. All right, one more little tidbit here for cross-country flying. We talked about sort of some of my other strategies. What's shaping up for us right now in the Denver area is the afternoon thunderstorms, and it's turning into a pretty big line that's extending all the way down from Colorado Springs, honestly, up to Cheyenne and even further north. And it started as a couple of little clusters, and now it's just sort of starting to fill in. So it looks like we're going to try to deviate to the north, but we still have about an hour before we hit this. That's not too early to start planning for this, though. What I'm likely going to do when you run into something like this, even though I'm...
Denver Center, Cherokee 5267 Lima, checking in at 4,000.
I'll probably get down low, about 2,000 feet AGL maybe, because when you're trying to work your way through the thunderstorms, you can oftentimes, at least out west here, the base of the thunderstorm is 2,000 to 3,000 feet high, and then you have the columns of heavy precipitation. And you can see what's building in the clouds up above, but you're sometimes able to work your way through those columns. So depending on how this closes in, if I'm going to try to make it through there, we'll likely drop down low.
23, I maintain level 30 and do not deviate more than 10 degrees to the left.
We'll likely drop down low to do that. So I'll turn this on as we kind of get closer to doing that, so you can see how I usually do it. But we'll be talking to center, getting ride reports from people ahead of us, and trying to pick the best way through. All right, so we've arrived at the precipitation here around Denver, and it's moderate to extreme actually. So I'll try to take some shots with the iPhone here of the columns of water that we can see popping through. But what's to our advantage is we're flying west, and it's late afternoon. It's about 5:33, and so the sun's moving to the other side. So it is sort of a best case scenario for penetrating thunderstorms like this, because it's like shining a flashlight through the thunderstorm. So I can see the columns of precip, and then I can aim for sort of the lighter sections. What can happen, though, as those who know weather will state, is there are three phases to a thunderstorm, and when it reaches that point where it just decides that it's had enough and lets the water down, it can happen very suddenly. So even though it looks like I'm flying through a clear part, I could get right under it and just have a column of water fall on me, which is never a good thing. So we'll sort of combine three things. One, what we're seeing on the ADS-B weather. I've been talking to air traffic control, and they've got a more rapid radar, and they're sort of vectoring us right now towards the lighter sections. And then as I get ready to penetrate, I'll drop down to maybe 9,000, maybe 8,000, and pick my way through what looks like the lightest sections here.
November 7164 uniform. Another option too is you can maybe look up the intersection Albin, Albin, Albin intersection. There's a gap there. It's about 20 miles wide with no precipitation. I want to take a look at that, maybe coming from the north and go through Cheyenne Approach to the south.
Okay, let me look up Albin here and I'll get back with you in a sec.
No problem. Just that weather between you and Longmont looking like it's blowing up.
Yeah, I'm looking at Albin here. Let's do that. Let's jump up to the north and I'll go direct to Albin at this point.
November 7164 uniform, you're clear direct Albin, intersection direct Longmont Airport, and then if you still need deviations, just let us know.
We'll go, 6-4 uniform. So, I think we're going to pick the safer of the options, which it's closing in all around us there, and I'm fine with moderate and heavy, but when we get to the extreme precip and the fact that those columns are so close together can make for some very turbulent conditions with extreme downdrafts. So what we're going to do here is sort of work our way up and around. We'll go Albin and then Cheyenne and down, which looks very clear up there. I can see the sun. So we'll see how this plays out. So you can probably see here now we're just abeam Cheyenne. There's about a 20-mile gap that all the other planes are working their way through here. And you can see it's nice and clear in front of us, and the shadow from the thunderstorm extends way out to the east. So you can see it's almost like a river of sunlight that's sort of the path that we're gonna work our way through. There's quite a bit of lightning that's been happening in the last couple of minutes out of this cell here. So we're gonna work our way around it best we can. I'm keeping about a 20 mile distance from it because it's sort of the head of the storm too, so those have a tendency to be the most violent. But this added a few minutes to our trip, but we had plenty of gas. And hey, time we can log. So isn't this pretty? It's like the skies have parted for us here. We've got the one cell to the south here, and then one to the north, and about a 20-mile corridor of just beautiful blue sky to fly through. With that, we'll wish everyone a happy 4th of July. That was the reason I was on the East Coast visiting family, and now I'm headed back home. So, happy 4th and safe flying, everyone.